One of the most beautiful, one of the most powerful, and somehow one of the most comedic characters in One Piece, Boa Hancock has it all. She's one of Luffy's greatest allies and plays a major role in the Summit War saga. She wields a bunch of titles such as the Snake Princess, a former 7 warlord of the sea, Pirate Empress, and she's the ruler of a tribe of all-female warriors. She's also powerful enough for the world government to create pacifistas or seraphims using her powers. However, Hancock's journey to the top hasn't been a smooth one, nor have adversities prevented her from becoming as powerful as she is. In today's video, we'll talk about everything Boa Hancock. We'll use her life to assess what makes her so powerful and how she uses her anatomical powers by gaining a psychological advantage over her victims. Before we get to the heart of the topic, don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel to stay up to date with the latest marvelous videos. Who is Boa Hancock? How is she introduced to the story? Hancock is introduced in the short window between the Sabaody Archipelago arc and the Impel Down arc. Following the devastating events at Sabaody, Luffy was transported to an island inhabited by and only with female warriors, the Amazon Lily. Every woman on the island belonged to the Kuja tribe, and men were not allowed to step foot on the island. In fact, a whopping majority of the women on the island had never even seen a man before. Amidst a horde of female warriors who were proficient with the usage of haki, one sat atop everyone else, and this person was the Snake Princess and Pirate Empress Boa Hancock. She ruled over the island as its strongest warrior and the most beautiful woman in the One Piece universe. Boa Hancock was not just the ruler of the island, but also the captain of the Kuja Pirates, which is, once again, an all-female crew composed of female warriors from Amazon Lily, with Hancock at the helm, and her sisters Boa Marigold and Boa Sandersonia as her immediate subordinates. Hancock's pirate ship, the Perfume Yuta, was drawn by ferocious snakes known as the Yuta Snakes. Hancock's introduction took place during a time when Ace had been imprisoned in Impel Down Level 6 following his fight with Blackbeard. A marine ship with Vice Admiral Momonga at its helm awaited to get an audience with Hancock, as they could not enter Amazon Lily. Momonga claimed that the world government had made it mandatory for the 7 warlords to be present during the execution of Port D. Ace in Marineford. Refusal to comply would result in the nullification of their warlord status, so Hancock not appearing would ultimately put Amazon Lily at risk. While he created a commotion outside during his dialogue with the Kuja crew, the Pirate Empress finally appeared, giving us a stone-cold introduction. She was met with a kitten in her path, so she kicked it away because how dare someone put a kitten in her path? One of the crew members even apologizes to her for it. However, her beauty took the members of the Navy by surprise, and they were in awe of her. Previously, Hancock had mentioned that she would be present during the execution, but as she was introduced, she claimed that she had lied, since she did not have any intention of fighting in the war. However, she also claimed that she would keep her title as the warlord. To top off her ludicrous demand, she insisted everyone from the Navy ship hand over their cargo and treasure to her. She arrived alongside her 2 snake sisters, Boa Marigold and Boa Sandersonia, and made a domineering introduction, where she proved to not just be the most beautiful woman in the world, but also cold, pompous, confident, and ruthless. Momonga found her demands unreasonable and called her out on it, but the odds were stacked in her favor since the love-struck crew had already begun to load up on the treasure to hand it over to her, all because she was so beautiful. Hancock soon claimed that while she liked her title as a warlord, she hated the world government and refused to obey their orders. While Momonga equated Hancock's behavior to similar of that of a spoiled brat, the other 2 Boa sisters claimed that no matter what, Hancock would always get her way, and that too for good reason. This brought us to an iconic dialogue that Hancock is known for, because she said that no matter what she did, be it kicking kitties, tearing people's ears off, or even committing murder, the world would always forgive her because she was just so beautiful. Not only did the statement have a great impact on the women of her crew, but the men from the Navy vessel were also moved enough to cheer for her. This made one thing very clear: Hancock's beauty could charm not just men, but women too, and it was really hard for her enemies to stand against her for that same reason. She then made a sign with her hands that resembled a heart, as well as an inverted triangle, and shot out the love beam. Almost every man from Momonga's crew immediately turned into stone. Momonga managed to avoid it by stabbing himself in the hand, which momentarily stopped his lustful thoughts by distracting him with pain and, by extension, saved him from becoming petrified. Soon after, Momonga claimed that if she did not comply within 2 days, her title as a warlord would be nullified. Hancock didn't care enough for his threats, as she dared him to do as he wished and left for Amazon Lily. How did she become a Pirate Empress? Born to the Kuja tribe in Amazon Lily, Hancock told her sisters about the beginning of the Great Age of Piracy, and that, to be great pirates, they had to be strong warriors. After gaining the strength to become capable warriors, the three sisters were recruited to be part of the Kuja pirates when Hancock was just 12 years old. While sailing on the Perfume Yuta ship, the Boa sisters were captured by slavers and sold to the Celestial Dragons, who lived in the Holy Land of Mary Joie and operated with godlike status. Hancock, along with her sisters Marigold and Sandersonia, became slaves to the world nobles and were subjected to horrific abuse during that time. They were even force-fed devil fruits, with Boa Hancock being fed the Paramecia type Mero Mero Nomi, or the Love fruit. The only reason as to why they were forced to consume devil fruits was for the sole purpose of amusing and entertaining the Celestial Dragons. They were also marked on their backs with the hoof imprint that branded a person as a slave to the nobles. The horrors Hancock suffered as a slave were beyond imagination and messed with her mind, and rightfully so. Several fishermen had also been enslaved by the Celestial Dragons, especially due to humans rampantly discriminating against the former. 4 years following Hancock's enslavement, the Fishman Fisher Tiger appeared in Marie Joie and freed several slaves, humans and fishmen alike, although his primary goal was to only free the fishmen. This allowed the Boa sisters to escape. Hancock dressed herself in rags and wore her hair in pigtails to avoid being identified as she fled, but she had nowhere to go because it was impossible for her to simply flee back home without ships, food, and ammunition. However, they did manage to arrive on the Sabadi archipelago, where they met Gold E. Rogers' first man, Silvers Rayleigh, the former Pirate Empress Shakuyaku, and the other former Pirate Empress Gloriosa, now known as the Elder Neon. The three of them helped Hancock and her sisters return to Amazon Lily. Because a life of enslavement was a matter of great humiliation to them, the sisters lied to the Kuja population about their abilities and cooked up a story about slaying a Gorgon, which resulted in them acquiring a curse on their backs, looking at which could turn people into stone. Hancock claimed that the mark was a punishment they had acquired for slaying the Gorgon, because she wanted to hide the imprint of the Celestial Dragons. Sometime during the Amazon Lily arc, we witnessed a sequence of Hancock having to take a bath. The preparations were elaborate, and it was stated that due to the curse, no one would be allowed to enter the bathhouse until the Pirate Empress was finished. Hancock believed that if people in the Kuja tribe found out about their enslavement, the three sisters would have nowhere to go, which is why she did everything in her power to conceal the truth. At the age of 18, Hancock became the Empress of Amazon Lily, as well as the captain of the Kuja pirates. She used her power and beauty to dominate and decimate her enemies, and attracted the attention of the world government in her very first raid. Assessing her immense potential, a bounty of 80 million berries was placed on her head, and she was also invited to become part of the 7 warlords of the sea. Now, because the world government worked for the Celestial Dragons, Hancock hated the government. Ideally, she would never want to work alongside them, which is why she refused to be part of the war against the Whitebeard pirates in Marineford. However, the government also ensured the immunity of the Kuja tribe, provided Hancock accept their offer, which led to her becoming one of the 7 warlords. How does Hancock use her beauty to deceive men and women alike? As the most beautiful woman in the world, Hancock's charm works on men as well as women. While acting authoritative, she often switches to showing off a cute front, which immediately causes people to melt, irrespective of how many times they have seen and been around her. Her beauty is so remarkable that not only are men instantly willing to obey her and carry out her ludicrous demands, but women cannot help but admire her to the point of blushing like teenage boys. Her beauty allows everyone to forgive her. She makes all the people of the One Piece universe stand up for women's rights as well as women's wrongs. Her arrogance, cruelty, and selfishness are all excused. She even claims not to care about the people of the Kuja tribe when she refused to be part of the war at Marineford because she believed that no matter what she did, she would be forgiven. We see her in action for the very first time during her introduction, when her beauty charms the members of the Navy and her crew alike. Because of their attraction towards her, the Love beam turns them into stone. When Momonga stabs his hand to distract himself from his thoughts, he refers to his thoughts of lust and attraction as wicked, which, knowing her backstory, allows us to see Hancock in a different light. It confirms that her arrogance is nothing but a front. However, arrogant or not, Boa Hancock is consistently overdramatic. During the bath sequence, Luffy accidentally crashes into Hancock's bathing area. Any man in his position would have been elated beyond belief, but Luffy is unbothered. He also sees the mark on her back and is confused with the sun mark on Hachi, the octopus's forehead. Hancock doesn't know that Luffy hasn't recognized the mark of the Celestial celestial dragons and uses the love beam on him. She's convinced that seeing her bathing has given him wicked thoughts because he's a man, but the beam fails to turn Luffy into stone. She shoots it once more, and yet nothing happens because the sight of Hancock doesn't give Luffy any evil thoughts. This leads to the next battle arena sequence, followed by the revelation of Hancock's backstory and her falling in love with Luffy. Due to her love, and because love's a hurricane, Hancock decides to help Luffy out by freeing Ace from Impel Down. Because of the ultra-high security nature of the prison, it should be impossible for anyone to free a high-level criminal like Ace, but the odds aren't zero when you have a warlord by your side. To help Luffy out, she accepts the world government's order to be present at Marineford, but demands to see Ace in Impel Down first. She hides Luffy under her cloak and covers for him when he's heard sneezing. When Momonga suspects that she's hiding something underneath her cloak, she slyly offers him permission to search her, which flusters him enough to reject the offer. After entering the prison, she is greeted by Vice Head Jailer Domino and Under Warden Hannibal. Because she's an outsider, she is first checked by Domino in a private room for safety. In this room, Hancock notices a transponder snail that sends footage like a CCTV and targets the people looking at the footage and Domino at once. Before Sea Prism stone cuffs are put on her to nullify her devil fruit powers for safety, she looks at the snail and cutely asks Domino to be gentle, which not only turns Domino to stone, but the people on the other side of the camera as well. This then creates the opening for Luffy to escape. In Marineford, it was hard for an onlooker to gauge who Hancock was actually fighting for, as she went against Marines and pirates alike, often blocking pacifistas from attacking Luffy because, as a warlord, the Kuma pacifista assessed her as an ally and halted its attacks. She even turned men from both sides into stone using her slave arrow. However, no one doubted Hancock's loyalty to the world government, and they forgave her diabolical actions because she was so beautiful. How does Hancock's fruit turn her into Medusa? Is there a way to counter her ability? Boa Hancock's character and its connection to snakes reminds us of Medusa. Hancock is known as the Snake Princess, wears snake-shaped earrings and has a white and red snake around her at all times. And of course, there's the fact that she turns people into stone. Similarly, Medusa is one of the 3 Gorgons in Greek mythology, and she's famous for having snakes for hair and turning people into stone, provided they look at her. The Boa sisters are also known as the Gorgon sisters among the Kuja for their fabricated story where they had slain the Gorgon and got cursed as punishment. But there exists another link between Hancock and Medusa, and it lies in how misunderstood and antagonized they can be, all while being the victims themselves. In Medusa's myth, she was portrayed as the villain who turned people into stone. However, in one of the iterations by the Roman poet Ovid, Medusa was perceived as a beautiful maiden who was assaulted by Neptune in Minerva's temple. Neptune and Minerva are the Roman versions of Poseidon and Athena respectively. Due to such an act being committed in a place as holy as a temple, Athena cursed Medusa by stripping her of her beauty and transforming her beautiful hair into horrifying snakes. This makes Medusa a tragic figure who had to pay the price for a sin that was forced upon her and then turned into an antagonist who had to be beheaded by the hero Perseus. Similarly, Boa Hancock is portrayed to be cold and ruthless, with the elder Neon often pointing out her lack of humanity. With time, we learn that this is all a front she keeps up due to her history as a slave. While Medusa fell victim to a man's lust, Hancock's character creates a contrast by using a man's lust to make him her victim. And Hancock's abilities transcend gender as well, as women can fall victim to her charms as well. In a recent event where Blackbeard raided Amazon Lily to get his hands on Hancock's devil fruit powers, she told him how her fruit is only formidable because of her beauty, asserting that it wouldn't be as powerful if Blackbeard were to use it, as he cannot invoke the same feelings of love, lust, and admiration that she can. Hancock has other devil fruit related attacks as well, such as the Mezameo or the Awaken, where she blows a kiss at her petrified target, causing small hearts to wash over them and turn them back to their original states. Her attack, known as the Pistol Kiss, works by Hancock blowing a kiss, which turns into a perfect heart-shaped bullet to attack her opponents. However, it is unknown if it can petrify anyone since she's only used it against Luffy, who possesses no indecent thoughts towards Hancock. Hancock can also breathe in deeply and kiss out a bigger heart. She then pulls the heart back with one hand like a bow and pops it to project hundreds of arrows to attack her opponents and petrify them. This ability is known as the Slave Arrow, and it reminds us of her past as a slave. She has also used this attack to turn inanimate objects like cannonballs into stone. To top that off, the sheer number of arrows that launch out of the heart make it extremely difficult to evade. While most of these attacks are mid to long range, Hancock can also engage in close quarters combat since she's a warrior and a complete fighter. The Perfume Femur is one such attack that combines her close quarters combat skill with her devil fruit abilities, as Hancock stands on her hands and spins to launch a barrage of kicks, kinda like Sanji. Anything that she strikes with this attack be it a person who lusts after her or an inanimate object, can get partially petrified. We say partially because it only turns the part of the body Hancock physically hit into stone. Overall, we can say that Hancock's devil fruit abilities are absolutely broken, but it's also not impossible to evade it. Aside from Luffy, the Love Beam didn't have an effect on Kobe either, who is another very pure-hearted character. There are stoic characters such as Smoker, Mihawk, and Crocodile, but Boa has never used the Love Beam on them for us to have a confirmed answer about its effectiveness. Hancock can be neutralized by using roundabout methods, which is how Blackbeard got her after the raid. Having failed to petrify Kobe, she attempted to attack him with Perfume Femur. Kobe was quick to realize that he couldn't evade it, but Blackbeard immediately used the Black Vortex on her to draw her towards him, allowing him to get her in a chokehold. His powers also disabled Hancock's Devil Fruit abilities, since the Dark Fruit can nullify Devil Fruits. However, it's not like Hancock's fruit can petrify her opponents if they don't feel attracted to her, because her arrows turn inanimate objects into stone. It's just that attraction makes it exceedingly hard to evade her attacks, and it increases the range of her attacks, since it allows her to turn multiple people into stone with a single beam. She also fought against the Kuma Pacifista, and used her intelligence to block its way from attacking Luffy. The Pacifistas could lock onto a target and assess their bounties, which made Luffy a prime enemy. However, as a warlord, Hancock stood in front of the Pacifistas, who then assessed her as an ally and ceased to attack. Because Kuma had lost all his autonomy by then, the Pacifista could not make decisions of its own by overriding its programming. And it's not like it would stand against Luffy had Kuma's personality persevered, since he was part of the Revolutionary Army. In terms of physical abilities alone, Hancock is highly durable and has great strength and speed, which allows her to attack several opponents at once and break stone with her kicks. Devil Fruit powers aside, Boa Hancock is a formidable user of Haki. Every single Kuja warrior knows how to use Haki, but as the Pirate Empress and their strongest warrior, Hancock is a cut above the rest. She has all three types of Haki, namely Conqueror's Haki, Armament Haki, and Observation Haki. Conqueror's Haki is also one of the rarest forms of Haki. We have witnessed her use Haki across plenty of scenarios during the Marineford arc, most notably in her fight against Smoker. Because Smoker is a Logia type, it is impossible for anyone to hit him, which is why Luffy struggled against Smoker so much in Logtown. However, Armament Haki neutralizes this issue by allowing the user to land attacks on any person who has consumed a Logia type Devil Fruit. Smoker used his pole weapon tipped with Sea Prism Stone against her, but Hancock's Armament Haki allowed her to land attacks on him. In fact, she dominated in battle and didn't take any damage. She didn't even use her Love Beam on him, as she didn't want to make an enemy out of the Marines due to the protection her warlord title brought to Amazon Lily. She only wished to stall Smoker so that Luffy could free Ace. Hancock's Observation Haki is great, as she was able to detect Luffy and the Heart Pirates being alive after the admirals tried to sink the submarine following the end of the Summit War at Marineford. Ultimately, we have never seen her use Conqueror's Haki in the manga, but she was able to resist Luffy and Ray Lee's Conqueror's Haki, which could knock out several opponents at once. We have also never seen her use advanced Haki techniques such as Future Sight, infusion of Conqueror's Haki into attacks, or Rio, which is an advanced usage of Armament Haki that Luffy learned in Wano. However, as a warrior who leads a tribe that is known for their Haki, it only makes sense for Hancock to have advanced Haki. The issue with her character is the lack of feats. There's a lot that has been said to us about her powers, but we haven't seen her use them enough to be able to scale her properly. Can Hancock defeat Luffy? Why they'll never fight? It's hard to give a definitive answer on whether Boa Hancock can defeat other characters or not, again due to the lack of feats. In terms of strength alone, Hancock can defeat a pre-time skip Luffy even though the Love Beam can't petrify Luffy. All she has to do here is land a kick on him, and it's not like it's impossible for an opponent to touch Luffy. This Luffy also doesn't know how to use Haki, barring the occasional outbursts of Conqueror's Haki, which Hancock can easily resist. Meanwhile, Hancock herself is a proficient user of Haki. The Straw Hats also had a hard time defeating the Pacifistas during Sabaody, which Hancock did with ease in Marineford, showing off the obvious gap in strength. In fact, she left the war unscathed, which is an enormous feat in and of itself. After the time skip, Luffy learns how to wield Haki, but he struggles against Doflamingo even with Gear 4, while Dofi is weakened by Law's Gamma Knight. We don't know of the power difference between Hancock and Dofi, but the latter clearly has greater feats, an awakened Devil Fruit, and an ability known as the Birdcage. It's not impossible for Hancock to defeat Luffy from the Dressrosa arc, but it would be a stretch to say that she can counter Gear 4th. However, she for sure cannot defeat post-Wano Luffy. That's a character who has advanced Haki alongside an awakened Devil Fruit with Sun God Nika as the model, thanks to Gear 5. sky. But none of this matters because Hancock would never fight Luffy. This is because she's in love with him. She hates every man under the sky except Luffy. The love has come to her like a hurricane, and she dreams of marrying Luffy in absolute shoujo manga style. She dreams of pretty boy Luffy lifting her veil and calling her honey. She literally learned how to cook meat so she could feed Luffy and become the ideal wife. When he hugs her, she thinks he wants to marry her. When he thanks her, she mistakes it for him confessing his love. Hancock will only fight Luffy if it's a husband-wife argument. She will then romanticize it because they're participating in married couple activities by arguing about day-to-day problems. Marvelous verdict! Well, Luffy doesn't have to fear Hancock, everyone else should because she is way too attractive to not make people go crazy. And even if you take her seduction, beauty, and devil fruit away from her, she still has her powerful haki and is a notorious pirate. All in all, her anatomy is lethal in terms of both beauty and power. What about you? Are you simping for Boa Hancock, or do you just not understand the appeal? And what about this video? Do you want to see more detailed and elaborate videos on One Piece, the world, and its characters? Let us know your thoughts in the comments section down below, and until next time, thanks for watching, stay safe out there, and have a marvelous day.